Hello and welcome back to Star Citizen with the Tough Eggs. I do apologise for the delay in making this video. I've had a few technical problems and recent server stability have caused some minor recording difficulties. Regardless, I'm sure CIG will get these issues ironed out soon, especially as Fleet Week is fast approaching. Now, the focus of today's video will be the newly updated mining mechanics in 3.13, specifically ship-based mining. In this video we'll look into the new mining components, compare them to the older consumables, pinpoint my recommended mining locations and review why mining feels so satisfying in the current game. As always, timestamps will be in the description to the key points in the video. So, if you're a ship-based miner exploring the vast expanses of Stanton's asteroid belts in search of those precious minerals, you have the choice of two vessels, the MISC Prospector and the Argo Mole. The Prospector is a purpose-built solo mining vessel, whereas the Mole is designed for a crew of 4 and capable of cracking 3 rocks at the same time, though you can use the Mole for single-player mining operations and it can be very effective. The Prospector is my go-to miner currently. It can comfortably traverse the distances between mining locations and refinery stations, and takes the same amount of trips as a Mole to fill the cargo hold of my Freelancer Max. But the Mole can carry triple the cargo capacity of the Prospector, you might say. And you are correct, it does. However, when mining quantanium, you'll often only be able to mine a single rock, which for the most part provides 30 SCUs of quantanium, unless you're lucky and find a very large rock. This means it will still take 4 trips to fill my cargo hold. When properly equipped, the Prospector can crack any rock it comes into contact with, even when janky servers try their best to interrupt it. So if you're short on UAC and want a miner, grab a Prospector, you really won't be disappointed. Equipping the ship is only a matter of personal preference. You can have a powerful mining head which increases power output but also instability, or you can have a lower power head that reduces instability, or anything in between. Here I've created a chart where I'll break down the varying types of mining lasers alongside their pros and cons. So here we are in the first of the spreadsheets in the video, this being the mining head comparison with the new up-to-date 3.13 information. So we're comparing the main factors, that being the range of the laser, the optimal charge window, the resistance and instability factor, and the power transfer rate, and then the other little niche items attached to each laser. And they're different to each one. So we've got optimal charge rate, catastrophic charge rate, all charge rate, a throttle delay on one laser, shatter damage, extraction rate, and then how many consumables you also have on that laser. As you can see by the varying green and red icons, there are 2 lasers that stand out above and beyond the rest, that being the Lancet and the Helix laser, and both sit on opposite sides of the fence really, the Lancet being the slower, more methodical, more reliable mining laser, giving you that larger charge window, less resistance, but a slower charge rate overall. And the Helix being the faster, more brute force, pushing its way through the rock really quickly and effectively, but also at the same time, with it being so quick and powerful, it's got a lower charge window, meaning the optimal range is a bit smaller, so you've got to kind of hold it in there quite well, especially with that throttle delay. So going from this, at the moment, I would still recommend the Lancet mining head over anything else in the game currently. Moving on, we're also going to discuss the varying consumables. As discussed, some mining heads hold consumable/component slots, which allow for further fine-tuning of your mining setup. Consumables, as the name suggests, are consumed on use. You have a set amount of uses per item, and when fully used up, will need replacing. The prices do vary, but are not too expensive, especially when compared to the returns gained from mining. The consumables are as follows. There are currently 8 main mining consumables, these being the Brant, Foral, Lifeline, Optimum, Rhyme, Stampede, Surge, and Torpid. Each has a main positive attribute and a main negative attribute, alongside a set duration the consumable is active for and the amount of charges the item holds. Consumables are much stronger than components. To counter this, they last a maximum of 90 seconds and have a finite amount of uses. However, when combined they do allow you to crack rocks very easily or can save you in emergency situations. I'd recommend pairing consumables that complement your mining laser, for example a surge consumable to increase that rock energy level to mitigate the poor transfer rate found in the Lancet. These items can drastically reduce instability and resistance, or increase the optimum charge window size or green zone in your mining head. Therefore, the use of these is dependent on your own playstyle and mining head choice. I personally would recommend consumables to be mounted on a prospector, especially if you're focusing quantanium mining, as the large impact these consumables have can ensure a large variety of tasks and rocks can be cracked easily. The most useful of these consumables are definitely the Surge and Stampede if you're using the Lancer head discussed earlier in the video. Now, let's take a look at the components added in 3.13. These will remain equipped on your mining head and never run out of charge. These provide continuous buffs / debuffs to your mining head, however depending on the quality and size of the component, they can cost 60,000 UEC. As you'd expect, this means if you're running a mole with 3 mining heads, each with 3 consumable slots, the expenses can rise quite quickly. There are 6 total types of components in-game in 3.13, each in 3 different sizes. We have the XTR, FLTR, Vox, Focus, Torrent and Riga components. As you increase the size of these items, its positive attribute increases and its negative decreases alongside the component's overall cost. Some size 3 components can cost 60,000 UEC, meaning a fully equipped mole could run a small fortune. Components provide similar buffs to consumables, as they reduce instability and resistance, increase optimal charge window sizes, and can even reduce inert material gain. However, these buffs are much lower. The positive side of this is that they are continuous. As long as the component is installed and working, it will be providing the bonus to your mining head. Therefore, I really do think these components are purpose-built for the mole, allowing for 3 custom mining heads to be designed, 2 focusing on cracking rocks and a 3rd for extraction, really allowing min-maxing of your mining vessel to be accomplished. When mining quantanium, I don't think this will impact much, as you're still limited by that 15-minute timer. However, when mining other materials in the game, you will be able to harvest more, faster, and with less wasted cargo capacity. Feel free to pause the video at any time to read the varying advantages and disadvantages of all the items compared. One last thing to note is that both consumables and components are lost if a ship is destroyed or lost to a 30k, meaning a fully equipped mole could lose an awful amount of UEC, especially with the current game stability, though you can work around this by loading into the hangar and unequipping those ship modules before you log back into the persistent universe. So, we've looked into all the components, and now I'd just like to share my recommended Prospector Loadout. From stock, there are very few upgrades needed to make this ship a more efficient miner. Firstly, let's replace the mining head. I suggest a Lancet mining head. This greatly reduces laser power, meaning rocks will be harder to crack. It provides a 40% boost to the rock's optimal charge range and reduces resistance and instability. Now, to combat this lower power, we'll add a Surge, Stampede and Brant consumable. Within this setup, the initial crack on rocks will be a lot easier, which means almost all rocks in the game will be able to be mined. Lastly, I recommend replacing the Quantum Drive with an Atlas just to cut down those travel times.
Hello, how can Miss help you today?
Okay, now that we've covered the basic ship equipment, let's discuss the better locations to mine. Each refinery station currently provides bonuses to specific resources, so it makes sense to start and finish your journey at a station that provides the best bonus. For quantanium mining, Referal 1 is the best refinery station, so that's exactly where we are. Now, from this location, there are 2 prime mining locations, one easier to get to than the other. Firstly, we have Referal 3. Within this sector, you can regularly find large quantanium rocks, and it has an active quantum beacon, meaning travel is easy. However, this also means you'll be easy to find for any pirates looking to extort or outright kill you, and they will be able to track you easily. Granted, this hasn't happened to me, touch wood, but I have seen it happen to others. This brings me to my second and preferred location, that being Aaron's Halo, which is the asteroid belt surrounding the Stanton system. Now, there are no direct jump points to this location, so you will need to manually control your exit from a quantum jump. However, this ensures you'll more than likely never be found. To enter the Halo, select Arc Al3, and when approaching 12.7 million kilometers away, cut your jump by pressing B or cutting power to your engines with I. Whilst in the Halo, you'll never be found, and the large concentration of asteroids means groups of rocks are often larger, meaning the chances of a high percentage rock are increased, as you can see here. Now, once you have found a rock from scanning the surrounding area, it's time to crack it open. Once cracked, it will split into roughly 5 chunks. Each rock will then need to be cracked again, further splitting into 4 chunks, meaning each rock can be broken into 20 individual pieces. The first crack is the hardest and most important. If the rock breaks whilst in the red zone, material will be lost and the resulting explosion could destroy the ship. A mole firing from range can take the hit, but a prospector pressed up against the rock definitely can't. So, on the left we have the mining laser power, on the right is the rock's charge level, its optimal range, the rock's instability, and also its resistance alongside a breakdown of what the rock is. Firstly, I'm going to increase mining laser power to 100%, then activate the surge consumable. If I can comfortably remain in the optimal range using just this consumable alone, I'll make the first crack using only this. If it's struggling, or the consumable's about to run out, I'll activate the second stampede consumable. Note, if the rock enters the red, I throttle down the laser and ensure the rock removes any effects from the red zone. On a laggy server prone to desync, this can be difficult. If you see the charge and rock crack remaining consistent, I'd recommend powering down and backing off, as the rock will likely explode when the server catches up. Now, initial cracks are quite simple as they require a large amount of power, and thus you won't need to make any dramatic changes in power level, as you'll stay in the 85 to 100% range. However, when making the second crack, these changes will be needed. A good rule of thumb is to increase the laser power, and when in the green zone, cut this power by 50%. You will then be able to make sharp increases and decreases in power to keep the rock in the desired green zone. Before you start cracking the second rock, scan all the items, memorise the rocks you will need, and forget about the rest. Once you have cracked these rocks, don't immediately extract the resources, especially if you're quantanium mining, as a single gram of this resource will start the 15-minute volatile cargo countdown. So best practice is to crack everything first, then extract the materials. When extracting the ore, try and loosely remember where the highest quality ore is located and extract those first, slowly moving down from the highest to the lowest quality, ensuring the largest amount of quantanium is added to your cargo hold. Note, once a single piece of quantanium is added, my volatile cargo alarm will activate, a warning light appears, and a 15-minute timer is displayed whilst in mining mode. If this timer hits 0, your ship will explode. Once this is fully stored and refined, this 30 SCUs of ore will net around 250,000 UEC. Once your cargo is all safely stowed away, jump to Crew Al-1 and land. Once you have landed, ensure that you exit the ship and that your vessel has a pad number below it. If it doesn't, climb back aboard, take off and request to land again. If the pad number doesn't display, the station won't allow you to access the cargo within your vessel. Believe me, you'll want to notice this issue as you land, instead of when you're attempting to refine your materials. Now that the basics are covered, I'll break down some useful tips before discussing the refinery process. Tip 1. Ship setup. Ensure before you leave Crew Al-1 that your mining laser is overclocked and that your forward shields are set to max, and that your fuel is at sufficient levels. Believe me, you'll really want those shields set to max. Tip 2. Setting jump points before you start scanning. Set your jump point when you enter your mining destination. This will speed up the process of returning home, especially when you're against the clock. Tip 3. Scanning. Scan using the 2x pulse. There is no need to use larger magnification pulses. Let out an initial powerful burst, and when approaching a target, let out smaller charges. As the distance is shorter, you will need less and less power to locate them. Lower power scan pulses also don't shorten the duration of the scanning zones that appear on your screen. This means you can chain pulses together to narrow down groups of rocks. Tip 4. Dud rocks. Some rocks will not be scannable. Rocks that don't present a yellow outline are glitched and you won't be able to use them. Notice this quickly and move on. Also, when you locate large groups of rocks, scan only one. If it contains none of the resources you desire, move on, as neither will the others. Tip 5. Mining power. As stated earlier, a good rule of thumb is to reduce power by 50% when on the second crack. For example, if you reach the optimal range on 30 power, drop it to 15 power to remain in this zone. Also, don't be afraid to completely break off the rock crack and start again if it's going badly once the rock has cooled down. There's nothing worse than a rock exploding and wasting resources. Tip 6. For the love of God, don't move or press a key on your keyboard when exiting the Prospector. It has a very buggy cockpit animation and you'll often get stuck in the seat. If this happens and you've landed, hold backspace to kill yourself and the ship will store upon your death. This brings me on to my last tip. Tip 7. Store your ship. When you arrive back in the lobby, store your mining vessel. In the future, I doubt this will work, but currently you can store your mining vessel. This stops the 15-minute volatile countdown and allows you to safely refine your minerals without the worry of them exploding on the launch pad. Once you have stored your ship, or if you're very confident and you've left your ship on the pad, you'll want to head to the refinery deck. Take the short trip in the elevator, and once in this section you can either sell your raw ore or set up a work order where you'll spend a little to earn a 100% increase in the value of your refined ores. In this section you'll also find the refinery store where you'll be able to purchase or rent any equipment needed in your next excursion. Once in the refinery section, you'll want to reach the top of these stairs, and that's where you'll see the work order station. This is where the newer refinery mechanics that were introduced in 3.12 come into play. As you can see, I already have some completed work orders waiting to be collected. However, before I collect them, I do want to ensure I'm taking a full load of cargo back with me. So, let's select my prospector and complete one last order. When it comes to refining methods, you are able to choose between a variety of refining techniques. Each has its own yield, cost, and time associated with it. As you're mining highly valuable minerals, you'll only want to choose methods that provide the highest of yields. This leaves 3 options. The pyrometric method, which is the fastest but costs nearly 40,000 UEC. The second is the Theron exchange. This costs roughly half as much at around 13,000 UEC but takes twice as long. Lastly, we have the Dinks solution, which costs half as much again but takes a whopping 36 hours or more to complete. Therefore, your choice of refining method is dependent on your next play session. If you're willing to play in 8 hours, take the fastest. If you know you won't be on for a few days, take the cheapest and increase your profit margins. In this example, I know I'll be back online later in the day to complete this cargo run, and so I'm choosing the pyrometric method. Though, 4 work orders with this method could cost nearly 160,000 UEC, so choose the option best fitting for yourself. To complete the order, select your desired method, select Get Quote, and then Confirm. Once confirmed, the amount of money will be deposited from your account, and the order will take place. Once the work order has been accepted, a pop-up will appear on your HUD telling you when it is complete. Here we are, later in the day with all my work orders complete. I have flown my Freelancer Max to the station and stored it already. It is now waiting for all the materials to be transferred on board. So we're going to use the same terminal, select the Freelancer and transfer all of these refined materials. You can queue this up in advance and have the materials enter the ship as they refine. However, I like to do it at the end to ensure no errors occur. This process can be a bit buggy, so give it time to transfer correctly. Once the ore is all on board, it may not display correctly within your ship, but believe me, it is there. Now, this is the most perilous part of the gameplay loop as all of your cargo is on the line. I recommend travelling to Area 18 as this is where I get the best luck in selling my materials. Before descending to the planet, stop by the nearest station and request a land. This can sometimes save your cargo in the event of a 30k. Once landed and safely tucked away in the spaceport, store your ship, and at this point all of your worries can happily fade away, as both your ship and cargo are tucked away safely. Then simply head over to the trading station and sell your cargo for some large chunks of UEC. Now to summarise, mining is an incredibly lucrative and rewarding gameplay loop currently. This is no surprise as it's the most fleshed out gameplay experience currently in the game. It doesn't award the same 500,000 to 1 million UEC an hour like bounty hunting, but it is a lot less labour intensive. I have seen a lot of videos proclaiming you can make millions within an hour, they're kind of lying to you. Finding rocks can take a while, especially if your luck is bad, and once found you still have to wait hours for the ore to refine before taking a 15-minute trip to sell those minerals. In some circumstances it can take 36 hours to sell materials. Granted, you might not be playing the game at this point, but it's still extending the time taken to earn a profit. Though I still would recommend dabbling in mining. Within 8 trips your prospector will have paid for itself. I'd recommend sitting back at the end of your play session, running some Netflix and cracking open a few rocks before you exit. This way, upon your arrival into the game, you'll have a refined ore waiting to be sold for an easy and quick payout. Thank you for watching the video, guys. I hope it's been somewhat informative and helps you in your future mining adventures. If you have enjoyed the video, please like, comment and even subscribe. It really does help the channel out and means a lot. And as always, take care and I'll catch you next time.